All right, my people, welcome back. I'm glad you guys are here. Week 14 of the semester, the fourth week of remote learning, AP language. I'm glad you guys are here. I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you had some time to rest. I hope you had some time to get things done and are able to just move forward in this remote learning process. Thank you guys for listening. We have some important things to attend to this week. My office hours are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. That is my email right below that, and main@d51schools.org. You guys know the drill at this point. If you have any questions or need anything from me, you know that you can reach out via email, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. A lot of you guys have been doing a great job with communicating with me, so I do appreciate that. Keep that up. I'm glad you guys are here. A celebration for me this week was actually yesterday. I went out and I made a dog ramp for the puppy that I'm gonna get here in a couple weeks. It'll be for the doggy door when he gets out of the house into the backyard. He'll have a nice sloped ramp. So that was fun. It got me excited about getting him, and it was a good experience overall. So I hope you guys are finding time to get out and do things that you are enjoying, that are productive, that maybe are new to you, maybe a new hobby or something like that. A lot of you guys have mentioned that you have picked up some new hobbies in your journals. So I thought that was really cool to see. And a lot of you guys have done a great job with those journals, and I do appreciate that. The breakdown for this week, it's simple. It's how we do every week. We'll operate on a weekly basis. I'll upload the slides with the lessons, with the assignments, the learning targets, you know. I'll have the walkthrough with the video. That is what you're listening to now, where I'll break down the agenda, the learning targets, and the assignments. So it is in your best interest to watch the video as you navigate through the slides. I'll have about 2 to 3 assignments due per week, all through Google Classroom. And you guys know that that is my email right there. So please shoot me an email if you ever have any questions or need an extension on anything. You guys know that I am more than happy to help you with that. If you are with me, give me a thumbs up. Alrighty, so something new that I'm offering is video conferencing. So when I gave you guys that remote learning survey a couple weeks ago, I had a question on there that said, Mr. Main should host live videos where you can get feedback or ask questions, etc. Majority of you guys marked no preference for that, so either way, you didn't really have a choice, or a preference, I should say, as to wanting the videos or not wanting the videos. Some of you guys said no. I think majority afterwards said no, and then some said yes. So if you did mention yes and you are wanting to conference, just shoot me an email with a time that works for you, and I can set up a meeting conference for us, and we can just kind of take care of whatever you want to take care of. Um, I'll work around your schedule, but give me a time that works best for you. Um, Anytime Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. would work for sure. But I can work around your schedule. So that option is there for you. It's optional with that said. So you don't need to do it. But if you desire a video conference, just let me know and we can get something set up and scheduled from there. Alrighty, so the agenda this week, we're jumping back into our rhetorical analysis work. We're not going to have any COVID-19 journals this week. We did those last week, the past couple of weeks, and those book reports. So we're kind of shifting gears a little bit, getting back to our focus of rhetorical analysis. And what we're going to do, we're going to look at the rhetorical analysis rubric. I've condensed it and put the major sorts of phrases and language that is on the rubric on the slides for the week. And so we're going to look at the thesis point, the evidence and commentary point, and the sophistication point. I know I've shown these before with other types of writing, and I think I did it with rhetorical analysis as well. But we're going to review that because I do find value in that, and I think you will too. And we're going to show then some samples of rhetorical analysis essays from the mock exam that you guys took with the Gandhi prompt. It won't be any of your essays. I'm not going to show any of your essays, but I'm going to show some high scores, some low scores, and I have some talking points on those that I have annotated. You'll see what that looks like here in a second. We're going to do some rhetorical analysis practice then, where we do a rhetorical reading of a prompt, you outline it, and then ultimately that gets us to writing a practice essay for that. And then obviously I want you guys to be reading something in this week time frame. Make sure you're staying sharp on your reading skills. So the two things that will be due for this week are the rubric review Gandhi prompt exit slip and the Albright rhetorical analysis essay. I'll show you what that all will look like here in just a moment. I'm also going to be emailing you guys your scores from the mock exam. All three essays, the synthesis, rhetorical analysis, and argument. I will email you those scores, so check your email inbox for that. You should get that sometime this week. If you have any questions, you guys know to reach out. The learning targets for this week, you guys, we are going to review the elements of the rhetorical analysis rubric, read rhetorical analysis, student samples from the mock exam, reflect on your own rhetorical analysis writing through this exit slip activity. And then we're going to do an application with rhetorical analysis. And that starts by identifying the rhetorical situation of a text, doing a close read of a text with an eye on rhetorical choices, analyzing how an author uses rhetorical choices to convey meaning or purpose through a rhetorical analysis essay, and lastly, reading a novel or text suitable for your reading level. That is the learning target breakdown for the week. So I mentioned it, but to start this week, we are going to be looking at the elements of the rubric for the FRQ question 2 rhetorical analysis, along with student samples of writing that receives points for each category. The student samples will be paired with the Gandhi prompt you all wrote about for the mock exam. So to familiarize yourself again with the Gandhi prompt, read the introductory material for the prompt below to understand the rhetorical situation. This is that introductory material before the actual text itself. It reads, in 1930, Mohandas Mahatma Gandhi led a non-violent march in India protesting Britain's colonial monopoly on and taxation of an essential resource, salt. The Salt March, as it came to be known, was a triggering moment for the larger civil disobedience movement that eventually won India independence from Britain in 1947. Shortly before the Salt March, Gandhi had written to Viceroy Lord Irwin, the representative of the British Crown in India. The passage below is the conclusion of that letter. Read the passage carefully, then in a well-written essay, analyze the rhetorical choices Gandhi makes to present his case to Lord Irwin. So that is the rhetorical situation, the introductory material. The link that I have here, if you go to page 9 of the link, Sorry, my computer is older than dirt. But if you click that link, it will bring up this PDF, and you scroll down to page 9. There we go. This is essentially just the packet of everything you got as far as sources for the mock exam. But it is right here. There is the introductory material, rhetorical situation material, and then the text right here. So I'm gonna just pause for a brief moment, read through this. You might want to open it up on your own laptop or Chromebook. And then after you are done reading this, come back to the slides and then we'll go through the rubric walkthrough together. Alrighty. So now that you were able to look at the rhetorical situation, reread the letter that Gandhi wrote to Viceroy Lord Irwin, let's look at the rubric for rhetorical analysis, and we'll pair the rubric with some samples for this prompt. It starts with the first row, which is row A, the thesis. And this row is pretty simple. You either get the point or you don't. So to earn the point for your thesis, it must respond to the prompt with a defensible thesis that analyzes the writer's rhetorical choices. Thesis statements that earn this point do just that. They respond to the prompt rather than restate the prompt, and they articulate a defensible thesis about the rhetorical choices. So they present an argument, essentially. Thesis statements that do not earn the point just restate the prompt or fail to address rhetorical choices the writer makes, and it describes the passage rather than making a defensible claim. So there's no real argument. They're basically just reiterating what's already been said. They're not showing any original thought. Some examples of thesis statements that did not earn the thesis point. Again, this is nobody in our class, but an example would say, Gandhi sent a letter to the representative of the British Crown in India. Well, there's no argument being made. There's no identification of rhetorical choices there. There's no mention of the author's purpose. This thesis statement is merely rephrasing the prompt in the introductory material. They're taking that rhetorical situation and simplifying that to this phrase right here. So that would earn no point. Next, Gandhi uses rhetorical strategies in his letter to present his case to Lord Irwin. It's definitely a step up from this first one because they actually have the mention of uses rhetorical strategies, and they have a purpose statement to present his case to Lord Irwin. But both the mention of the rhetorical strategies and the purpose statement is vague. This thesis statement lacks specificity and doesn't specifically address the rhetorical choices that Gandhi uses. The student just says Gandhi uses rhetorical strategies. Doesn't work. There's no meat to that thesis statement. And also to present his case to Lord Irwin. Yes, it's a purpose statement. I would buy it, but it's vague. It could definitely be improved upon. This one is the closest at earning a point, I would say, but not quite there. It says, Gandhi's nonviolent personality is a rhetorical device all into itself. It makes him look far more approachable to the receiver of the letter. So there's an argument being made. There's a claim. It's clear, but it fails still to specifically address rhetorical choices. Gandhi's nonviolent personality is a rhetorical device all into itself is vague. What is it about his personality maybe could help get that point if they answered that. And there really is no purpose statement. I could imply it maybe, but it needs to be specific. It needs to be clear. Don't make your reader have to guess what your thesis statement is, what rhetorical choices you're going to address, and what the author's purpose is. Be as clear as possible. Like these ones. These ones did a great job. These thesis statements earned the point for the Gandhi prompt. Let's take a look. It says this first one, throughout his letter, Gandhi applies a conciliatory yet forceful tone. He places the blame onto the British, and he continually repeats his plan for the march in order to convince the British to reverse their policies before he acts. So this is a great thesis statement. This student had a thesis statement that analyzed the writer's rhetorical choices. They're talking about the forceful tone, placing the blame onto the British, and continually repeats his plan for the march. So maybe there's a use of tone, maybe there's a emotional appeal going on here, and then there's some repetition of repeating his plan for the purpose statement to convince the British to reverse their policies before he acts. So, but do notice how the mention of the rhetorical choices are not just saying, in this case, Gandhi applies a tone, appeals to emotion, and uses repetition in order to convince the British to reverse their policies. This student is more specific. They are not just mentioning the rhetorical devices, but they're stating the choices specifically to Gandhi's purpose and how he relays his purpose. The next one says, in the letter to Lord Irwin by Gandhi, the author expresses his desire for a non-violent end to the salt laws Britain has imposed on India. Through the use of his impeccable word choice, flashback to the year of 1919, and the use of a metaphorical weapon, Gandhi wishes to move his audience to understand that he is proposing, supposed to say that what he is proposing is not a threat, but a duty he must fulfill. So if we're looking at that one, what he is proposing, here we go. So again, like this thesis statement above, they have clear mentions of rhetorical choices with the impeccable word choice, flashback, and the use of a metaphorical weapon. They introduce the rhetorical choices, and this student clearly has identified the purpose statement, which is to move his audience to understand that what he is proposing is not a threat, but a duty that he must fulfill. So I challenge you to mimic these types of statements in your own writing. If you're going to use, the author uses diction, tone, and syntax, you need to put a descriptive adjective before you say that rhetorical device. You can't just say, Gandhi uses diction to convey purpose. Of course he uses diction, it's a text. You have to be specific. What kind of diction? Is it somber diction? Is it persuasive, inspiring? What kind of diction is it? You have to be specific. Don't make your reader guess. If you have questions, please, please, please let me know. The next row is the evidence and commentary row, and this row is one that is on a 4-point scale. So I've condensed some of the wording on this, but I really like the descriptors in the parentheses above. So if you don't score a point, if you get a 0 on evidence and commentary, essentially nothing's there. You just restate the thesis. Your information is irrelevant to the prompt. There's no textual evidence. It's based on opinion, and your argument is incoherent, or there's no connection to the prompt that is being asked of you to write about. If you get 1 point, Obviously, there's maybe a little something there, but it's going to be mainly summary. This is where the evidence is mostly general and commentary is just basically reiterating what the evidence says. So you're not building off the evidence, you're basically just rewording it in a new way. So the evidence or the commentary provides no explanation as to how the evidence supports the argument. Um, at that point, you're mainly doing a literary analysis, not a rhetorical analysis if you're just summarizing. Um, if you get 2 points, you have some commentary that's insightful, but it's inconsistent. So the evidence provided is specific in some areas, and relevant evidence is specific in some areas, and the commentary explains how some of the evidence relates to the student's argument. But that argument jumps around and it's not fully developed. Responses that earn a 2 are kind of wishy-washy. They have areas that are good, like, man, this is a really good body paragraph, or this is not so good. There are broad generalizations. We know that generalizations are logical fallacies, so we want to avoid those. If you repeat arguments in your commentary, you might get a 2. If you're inaccurate, you might get a 2. But really, there's sort of just uneven balance. That is the main indicator with a 2. Now, a 3 and a 4 are very, very closely linked together. A 3 provides specific evidence to support all claims, and evidence explains how some evidence supports a line of reasoning. So with these, there is a uniform approach with evidence supporting claims. The argument is organized, and it's organized in a line of reasoning. I know I've talked about this before, but a line of reasoning is basically showing the evidence between each rhetorical choice. So if you have a paragraph that is after another one and you are able to explain the connection between the two, even though they're their own entities, so to speak, like if you're talking about emotional appeal in one paragraph and then you're talking about persuasive diction in the next paragraph, if you're able to link those with your commentary, that would be a strong move that could get you into the higher end of a 3 or 4 with your commentary, row B. And for an effective piece, there's a lot of similarities. What I want to focus on is this phrase, the student has total control of the analysis here. This is where we know that the student knows the rhetorical situation. They know the task at hand. Oh, excuse me. And they're not fluffing anything. We know that the student has been able to clearly do a rhetorical reading. They are providing a nice balance throughout the entire essay with claims, evidence, and commentary. And I don't have to interpret anything as the reader. This kind of has the wow factor, if you will. Alrighty, so if you are on a phone or phone, um, try to get on a laptop or Chromebook for this next part. We're going to look at a variety of essays from students. It's linked here. I already have the link up, so I'm not going to click it, but I have provided a link with sample essays from students, and each sample has the score that the student earned, as well as annotations made by me to justify scores for the thesis, evidence and commentary, and sophistication points. I know we haven't gone over sophistication yet, but I wanted to show it before, if that makes sense, showing the samples before I show you what the sophistication row looks like to get the point. We will get there in a second. So pull that up for me. You click this link and it looks like this. Okay, and there are a few essays that we're going to look at, and I have made comments, annotations on the side. So do read through these annotations, and I'm going to read through these as well. So the directions say read the samples below and view the annotations Maine has made in regards to the rhetorical analysis. These are student samples from AP language students who took the exam last year. Okay, so this is nobody in our class. I typed it exactly how it was written out. So there are some spelling errors, grammar errors, you name it. This first sample that we're going to look at, sample number 1, this sample received 0 points for the thesis. It got 1 point for the commentary and 0 points for sophistication. And this is it right here. So it says Gandhi's nonviolent personality is a rhetorical device all unto itself. It makes him look far more approachable to the receiver of the letter. One example starts on line 64. Gandhi states, "If you think that there is any substance in my letter, and if you will care to discuss matters with me, and if to that end you would like me to postpone publication of this letter, I shall gladly refrain on receipt of a telegram to that effect soon after this reaches you." Gandhi doesn't threaten the British government. He offers to not publish the letter so that they can sit down and have a civil talk about it. On top of that, he has it hand delivered by an English friend. He is definitely far more inviting than the Americans were in their Declaration of Independence. Okay, so for whatever reason, this is what this student came up with. They could have ran out of time, whatever the case may be, and they just wanted to get something down. And they did get a point. But if we're looking right here, this is an attempt at a thesis statement. This was one of the samples we looked at, but there's not enough specificity. The rhetorical device all into itself is not a mention of a rhetorical device at all, and there is no real purpose statement. It has to be implied. Remember, don't make your reader imply anything. They do, however, go into some evidence, which is solid. They cite the line, and they have a nice blended quote. It says, if to that end you would like me to postpone publication of this letter, I shall gladly refrain on the receipt of a telegram to that effect soon after this reaches you. Gandhi doesn't threaten the British government. This is the student's own words. He offers to not publish the letter so that they can sit down and have a civil talk about it. So the student is basically just rephrasing what was already said in the quote provided. There's no real thought in terms of how Gandhi is utilizing a rhetorical choice. So maybe this student could have talked about using a tone of like a welcoming tone. The student could have wrote something about that, how his tone is welcoming Viceroy Lord Irwin to sit down and have a discussion in order to present Gandhi as a nonviolent person, which would maybe in turn then make Viceroy Lord Irwin more willing to listen to him. Student could have talked about that a little bit, but they don't. They merely just reiterate what has been mentioned in the quote above. And then lastly, he is definitely far more inviting than the American were in their Declaration of Independence. This statement is just irrelevant. It doesn't have anything to do with the prompt. It has nothing to do with the rhetorical situation. So as a reader, this shows me that the student doesn't really know what's going on in terms of why this was written, maybe even who Gandhi is, and they're really just trying to pull at straws at this point to try to get something down on the page. So since they did have a brief little summary, if we look back at the rubric, they did earn the 1. They got the summary for the row B, evidence and commentary. But that is it. Okay, so It's got a 1 out of 6. Let's take a look at sample 2 now. This one got a 1 with the thesis statement, a 2 on the commentary, and did not earn the sophistication point. So if we're looking at row B, 2 points. This is an inconsistent analysis with evidence and commentary. So let's take a look. It says, in the letter to Lord Irwin by Gandhi, the author expresses his desire for a nonviolent end to the salt laws Britain has imposed on India. Through the use of his impeccable word choice, flashback to the year of 1919, and the use of a metaphorical weapon, Gandhi wishes to move his audience to understand what he is proposing is not a threat, but a duty he must fulfill. So this was one of those examples of a great thesis statement. It clearly addresses 3 rhetorical choices and specific mentions to those choices. It doesn't just say he uses diction. No, he uses impeccable word choice, uses flashback, and the use of a metaphorical weapon, all to achieve his purpose, which is to move his audience to understand what he is proposing is not a threat, but a duty he must fulfill. So far, so good. Moving on, first, Gandhi states in lines 9 to 11, I have deliberately used the word conversion, for my ambition is nor less than to convert British people through nonviolence. This shows that the author is carefully choosing his words as it helps his letter flow and get across the certain point that he would like Irwin to understand. I highlighted this because I don't want you guys to ever write, this helps him get his point across. This student wrote to help his letter flow and get across the certain point that he would like Irwin to understand. This is incredibly broad. What is his purpose? What is he trying to get Lord Irwin to understand? So avoid using phrases such as the author uses blank to get his or her point across. Also later in the passage, as he uses words such as sacred, disciplined, and movement to express why and how the things he mentions in the letter will be done. Instead of a threat, he uses these words to signify a promise. Okay, so the commentary is a little better here as opposed to the first essay we looked at. But let's move forward. Next, the author uses a flashback in line 16 stating, I served them up to 1919 blindly. This is used to explain a difference in what he did in the past compared to what he stands for now. In the previous paragraph, Gandhi mentions how he will serve Britain's people as he does his own, only now it will be with purpose instead of the blind leadership he previously fell under. So it's good. It's could definitely be better though. This commentary isn't really consistent with the author's purpose that he states right here though. However, to move his audience to understand what he is proposing is not a threat but a duty he must fulfill. This doesn't really connect to that. Lastly, Gandhi uses a metaphorical weapon, humility, to lead his people to get what they want, lower taxes, so all may have access to the salt coming from their own land. The use of humility is a powerful message to Lord Irwin that Gandhi is not doing this for himself, which leaves him with a lot of peaceful protesters joining him to fight for what they believe in without even having to draw a weapon. This is the best paragraph, I would say, in terms of commentary, because first, they talk about this metaphorical weapon of humility to get what they want, lower taxes, so all may have access to salt from their own land. This shows understanding of the rhetorical situation. This shows that the student is able to discern why Gandhi is writing what he's writing, who he's writing it to, and so forth. This humility is a powerful message because Gandhi is able to then have people join him in peaceful protest to fight for what they believe in. So there is a jump. He's not just rephrasing moments of the humility here. Um, he's talking about why humility is utilized specifically by Gandhi, why Gandhi chooses to be expressing humility. Well, because he is able to do this um, in order to get a lot of people joining in on peaceful protests to fight for what they believe in without even having to draw a weapon. So this one got a 3 out of 6. One thing I would have liked from this last paragraph is if they had a direct quote, but still, decent essay. 3 out of 6. Could be better, but definitely could be worse. Let's look at sample 3 now. This one got a 3 in the commentary section, a 1 for the thesis statement, and 0 for sophistication. So if we're looking back, the commentary here is adequate. It gets the job done. And so let's look at one that gets the job done. It says, in Gandhi's letter to Viceroy Lord Irwin, Gandhi is able to effectively use specific diction, his appeal to logical reasoning, and his tone of the letter to strengthen his case. This is a thesis statement that gets the job done, you guys, but it's formulaic and it's vague. If this was an in-class essay and I saw this, I'd give you half a point on the thesis because specific diction, not very descriptive. His appeal to logical reasoning. Can we be a little more specific? Why is Gandhi being logical? How is he being logical? And his tone of the letter. What is his tone? There's no descriptor before the word tone. And to strengthen his case, yes, that's his purpose, but what is it specifically? It earned the point, but I don't like this thesis statement. Moving forward, however, it says, by using specific diction, Gandhi is able to strengthen his case of the independence India seeks. Gandhi uses the word evil repetitively. By using the word evil in his letter, he wishes not to degrade Lord Irwin, but to open his eyes on what the people of India feel towards Britain's actions. By using civil disobedience to fight evils, India wants to show that they themselves will not succumb to it as well. In addition to the word evil, Gandhi wants friendly negotiation. Gandhi could have just written negotiation, however, it would not be able to create a harsher impact than intended to. By adding friendly, he wishes to juxtapose the actions of the Briton who have wronged India to the actions India is willing to take to negotiate with Britain. India and Gandhi wishes to have a future positive, friendly relationship with Britain. Gandhi's use of diction create a stronger meaning that can impact and change Lord Irwin's point of view and eventually persuade him. So I really like this phrase right here. By adding friendly, he wishes to juxtapose the action of the Briton who have wronged India to the actions India is willing to take to negotiate with Britain. So obviously the grammar is a little off, but they're specifically explaining why friendly is utilized so meticulously and how it is helping strengthen his case, his purpose. Well, it's to juxtapose the actions of Britain who have been so harsh with India. So we're seeing some solid commentary. Moving into paragraph 3, using logical reasoning to strengthen his action, Gandhi is able to strengthen his case. While stating the evils of Britain, he ensured logic as any country would want to be freed from it. Gandhi claims that first, the evils of British need to be removed for future relationships to be ensured. Gandhi ensures that he does not want harm the people of Britain, but by unnecessarily laying stress upon communal problems that unhappily affect the land and people of India, it is reasonable to act the way they should have. By implementing civil disobedience, we see the resolve that India does not want to harm Britain, but wants to have freedom and just freedom. Commentary here falls off a little bit from the first paragraph. The commentary of not wanting to harm becomes repetitive. They state that right here and then right here. So there is some repetition of commentary. There's no real progression of thought with this commentary. The first paragraph, this one, is definitely stronger in terms of the student relaying the importance of the specific rhetorical choice. In this case, it's diction. In this case, it's logical reasoning, and there's also no real direct evidence that the student uses here. Alrighty, paragraph 4, it says, in the letter, the overall tone is resolve. Gandhi is determined for one true answer from Lord Irwin, which is the negotiation of India's freedom. From lines 46 through 50, we see the transition from his previous paragraph, which includes reasoning from wanting independence to the claim that he will not take no for an answer. Gandhi states that if they cannot get independence from Britain, there will be continued action from India. In the end of the paragraph, Gandhi wrote, quote, "This letter is not in any way intended as a threat, but it is a simple and sacred duty. Gandhi believes that he has a godly duty to the people of India to gain independence. There is not stronger resolve than to work with your religion." The overall organization of Gandhi's letter works together with his tone as they both work in harmony to explain what Gandhi feels to Lord Irwin. We know that Gandhi and the people of India have a strong resolve to stick to civil disobedience and non-violent actions committed to help gain independence from Britain. So commentary is really strong, much stronger here than in that paragraph right above. The tone of resolve is mentioned specifically in the commentary to work in harmony to explain why Gandhi is feeling a certain way towards Lord Irwin and how he and the rest of the people of India have a strong resolve to stick to civil disobedience, ultimately to gain independence from Britain. So the commentary is strong here. I think they could have expanded, yes, but nonetheless, there is some original thought. Overall, Gandhi's letter was not intended to further disconnect Britain and India, but to maintain future relationships while India is an independent country, using specific rhetorical choices such as diction, using his logical reasoning, and having a firm tone. Should keep the descriptors same. He should have said resolve, like he said up here. I mean, which I still think he could have said a better tone adjective, but keep it consistent. Throughout his letter, he is able to strengthen his letter and commit to his resolve. There we go. So one thing that I would have liked to see this student do would be to eliminate this paragraph right here on the logical reasoning and just focus on two rhetorical choices. They would have had a more sound rhetorical analysis by analyzing just two rhetorical choices, not three. It made it a little uneven and unbalanced here, since this student did have three. They're looking for quality over quantity. So just keep that in mind. If you have found two strong rhetorical devices that you can look for and really explain well, focus on those two and don't try to add another one in there just for fluff. Quality over quantity. Alrighty, here's the last sample. This one received a perfect score. This is a 1 with the sophistication, a 1 with the thesis, and a 4 with the commentary. I think you guys will see a clear difference between the 4 here and the 6 here. Alrighty, it says, nonviolence has often been a technique used by social and political figures to peacefully display opposition to a certain law of practice. In the book On Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau, Thoreau argued that citizens must exercise their responsibility to refuse to adhere to unjust laws. Later, civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. would take a similar approach by organizing peaceful protests to further the rights of African Americans. In 1930, Mohandas Mahatma Gandhi used the principles of civil disobedience and nonviolence to protest the unjust control of India by Britain by arranging a salt march to display the unfair British monopoly on salt. By describing the British control of India commerce as greedy and misguided, clearly asserting the peaceful nature of the protests, and offering to negotiate with Viceroy Lord Irwin, Gandhi makes the case that his nonviolent protest stands up for good of mankind against the tyranny of the British. So, first of all, this introduction is incredible. They have a phenomenal start. They use this concept of civil disobedience, and before they jump into Gandhi, they talk about how this has kind of progressed, starting with Henry David Thoreau in his book On Civil Disobedience, how then it applied to Martin Luther King, but then it jumps back into the Gandhi situation. So this student clearly in this section right here, starting in 1930 and down, this student clearly understands the rhetorical situation of what they need to write about. Phenomenal way. So if you have the time to kind of introduce the rhetorical situation like that, go for it. And then the thesis statement is excellent. They don't necessarily just drop in the rhetorical choices. Um, they talk about, or the rhetorical devices, sorry, they talk about the choices specifically that Gandhi uses by describing the British control of India commerce as greedy and misguided, asserting the peaceful nature of the protests, and offering to negotiate with Viceroy Lord Irwin. Three rhetorical choices. Gandhi makes the case, his purpose makes the case that his nonviolent protest stands up for the good of mankind against the tyranny of the British. Gandhi acknowledges the risk that he is undertaking by standing up to the British government, but also asserts that they are necessary for the victories of truth to prevail. By doing so, Gandhi is establishing an underlying theme of heroism in the face of misguided evil. This noble theme is furthered by Gandhi's desire to make the British see the wrong they have done to India, but not to harm the British. Gandhi's focus of using an equal love your people with mine serves to demonstrate the peaceful nature of his protests and also highlights the wrongdoing of the British Empire by juxtaposing it with his own weapon of love and peace. Gandhi appeals to emotion, saying that the suffering of the Indian people rebelling against British rule will be enough to melt the stoniest hearts. So, the concept of civil disobedience is reiterated with not wanting to harm the British. And then this commentary right here reinforces the purpose that Gandhi is trying to stand up for the good of mankind against the tyranny of the British. Notice how they used some quotes, but they're not quote heavy. They're merely using them and kind of blending it into their commentary to show how Gandhi is using these choices to convey his purpose. After establishing his theme of standing up to tyranny, Gandhi shifts to emphasizing the benefits that a change in British policy could bring to relations with India. Gandhi frames British control of commerce as wrong by saying that his goal is to combat such evils as the British government has enacted on India. Gandhi says that British commerce must be purified of greed and states that after they can do so, they will clearly see their own wrongdoing. This once again builds upon the foundation of the noble goal that Gandhi built in the earliest segment, because it portrays Gandhi and standing up for the rights of mankind. Notice how this commentary here is directly tying back to what's up here. So they're not just kind of their own entities, they're closely linked. And this writer clearly shows that by saying this once again builds upon the foundation of the noble goal that Gandhi built in the earliest segment, because it portrays Gandhi as standing up for the rights of humankind. That is mentioned right here as well in this paragraph. Although Gandhi encourages the British to deal with these evils and change their ways, he also gives them an ultimatum by saying that if they do not change, he will lead a non-violent protest to disregard the provisions of the salt laws. Here, Gandhi ties back his discussion to the British monopoly on salt, while also asserting that he will take peaceful action to disobey the laws he deems unjust. This student has a persuasive analysis and is in total control. They are using a lot of quotes, but it's not source driven, like I mentioned earlier. It's supplemental to the student's argument and to the student's commentary explaining how Gandhi is using civil disobedience to stand up for the good of humankind. The previously established theme of heroic resistance is reiterated as Gandhi says that the independence movement is, quote, for the poorest in the land. Gandhi's reference to poverty makes the salt monopoly a social issue as well as one of commerce. Gandhi makes Indian resistance seem inevitable by questioning why they have submitted to the cruel monopoly and emphasizing how tens of thousands will protest with him. However, Gandhi continues to maintain a reasonable tone and offers to discuss matters with Viceroy Lord Irwin if he so chooses. This is another example of Gandhi encouraging the British, represented by Lord Irwin, to reflect on their actions and change their ways. As the letter draws to a conclusion, Gandhi once again makes it clear that his message is not a threat, but rather an attempt to reason with the British. In the last sentence, Gandhi gives tangible evidence that some British already see the wrongness of their actions by saying that this letter is being delivered by a young English friend who believes in the Indian cause. Through this, Gandhi is giving proof that the change in British actions that he advocated for is not only possible, but already occurring. Conclusion says Gandhi's portrayal of British control of India presents his case for Indian independence to Lord Irwin by showing it as cruel and greedy, while the resistance movement is shown as just as inevitable. Gandhi subtly weaves in implications of heroism of nonviolence in an effort to convince the British that their domination of Indian commerce is wrong. This letter is the precursor to the Salt March protest and to the eventual independence of India. So again, this student ties back to the rhetorical situation here and kind of just reiterates the rhetorical choices that Gandhi is using in terms of relaying his purpose. So I have the annotations marked on the sides. So hopefully you can go back and look at all of these. This one is an incredible essay. I think they all have something good about them. Maybe the summary one, maybe not as much, obviously, but I hope that as you look at these, you are able to discern kind of where you are at. I think all of you guys are in a passing range. You can definitely get a 3, 4, 5, or a 6. Just really think about honing in on that commentary. Try to get to this, make this your goal to get in this range right here, in the 3 and 4 range in terms of commentary. So make it consistent. Make sure you have evidence to support all claims and that all claims have commentary that reinforces the author's purpose rather than just summarizing. Really quickly, for the sophistication point, you earn this point if you demonstrate sophistication of thought or develop a complex understanding of the rhetorical situation. This student that we just read, the last one, sample 3, definitely did this with the persuasive and vivid word choice, touching back on the rhetorical situation in their introduction. right here. It's actually, I kind of was looking at this as I was going. I made a mistake. It's sample 4, obviously. You could go back and see that. But again, addressing the rhetorical situation, how it kind of was rooted in this on civil disobedience, but then going into civil disobedience in context of the Gandhi piece. And then at the end, they clearly connect it again. And then sandwiched in the middle is a beautifully written analysis where the student identifies the rhetorical choices used to convey Gandhi's purpose. Attempts that tried to get the thesis or the sophistication point but did not earn it are ones that contextualize the issue but use generalizations. This is like when you use words like everyone believes that, or throughout society this, or since the beginning of time that. Um, it hints at other people's arguments, but it doesn't really elaborate or break down or kind of destroy their argument. Um, and it uses complicated or complex sentences that detract from an argument and doesn't enhance style or analysis. Do not be a just thesaurus machine. You don't want to do that. Make sure you are able to write a clear analysis before you try to get incredibly sophisticated in your word choice. I hope going through all of that helped. I definitely think this these samples with the annotations can be super beneficial for you as you go and look at writing your own. So do me a favor, and you'll see something on Classroom that says rubric review, Gandhi prompt exit slip. It's found in the remote learning assignments section of our Classroom. And it's an exit slip that looks like this, really. So it says, after you finish reviewing the elements of the rhetorical analysis rubric found on the Google Slides for the week and the student essay samples with annotations, fill in the chart below, and this will serve as your exit ticket for this activity. So really, it's just identifying 2 or 3 new pieces of insight you gained about understanding or writing a rhetorical analysis. 2 or 3 things you want to use in your own analysis writing as you move forward. And a space to ask a question if you have any about rhetorical analysis. If you don't have any questions right now and you're feeling confident, you can leave it blank, but this would be a good time to write a question. I can give you feedback on that. So do me a favor, take a moment, answer this exit ticket question for me, and we will move forward. Alrighty, so we have done some rhetorical analysis examination with the Gandhi prompt and the rubric, but now we are going to be writing our own practice rhetorical analysis essay from the Madeleine Albright's commencement speech. We did a soapstone analysis of this way back in the day. This was like unit 1, I think. But now we only did a soapstone, so now we're going to write a full analysis. It's not expected that you remember the text, so do not worry about that. There are a lot of links provided on this slide, so print these slides off or have them readily available. Not the slides, the link. Print off the links if you have access. If you don't, make sure you just have them open on a tab before you begin to write your rhetorical analysis. The first one is the prompt. And it looks like this. We have the introductory material right here. And then we have the text right here. Goes on a little bit to the next page. So first, do a close reading of the introductory material. Identify the rhetorical situation and then read the text itself. Remember, when you're reading and doing a rhetorical analysis, I suggest chunking the reading into 3 parts and identify a rhetorical choice utilized in each section. If you do not have this tool printed out, it's the basic rhetorical choices handout that I linked in the slides a couple weeks ago. Um, I would print this out. I would have this in front of you whenever you write any rhetorical analysis. That means the exam. I would have this out before you write that for the AP exam. It has the rhetorical choice, a definition of what it is, and the effect in terms of logos, ethos, pathos. What does it sort of establish or add? So again, print this out. Super useful, I think. Let me know if you have questions on this. From there, you just basically write the rhetorical analysis. The outline is linked here as well. It's an outline that you guys have seen before. Remember, we have our introduction where you have the intro paragraph where you address elements of a SOAPS, followed by your thesis statement. Your 2 to 3 body paragraphs, 1 body paragraph for each rhetorical choice, which would make it to have 2 to 3 body paragraphs in total. Toulmin style argument with claim, evidence, and warrant. Try to incorporate 1 to 2 pieces of evidence that illustrates your claim at work. And then for your commentary, connect your evidence back to the claim and author's purpose, thinking about these guiding questions to sort of generate your analysis. How does this strategy or rhetorical choice usually work? How is it working in your specific example? And why did the author use this choice on this audience? Or how did this strategy make the audience feel, react, or respond? Think about these guiding questions as you go to generate some commentary. Lastly, then you just have your conclusion summarizing the key points. This shouldn't be more than 2 to 3 sentences, I would say. Keep it really condensed. The meat of your time you want to spend in this section right here. Okay. If you have questions on this, please let me know. Okay. The suggested pace for this, now I'm not going to know how long you actually did this rhetorical analysis, but to kind of start training for the exam, maybe take 5 minutes to read the introduction material for the rhetorical situation and the actual text with a close eye on rhetorical choices. I think this text is very applicable for us. We can find some rhetorical choices that Albright uses. 3 to 5 minutes to then begin writing a brief outline or sketching out an outline. That could be writing things on the sides, underlining rhetorical choices, whatever that may be. And then that would give you about 33 to 35 minutes to write the rhetorical analysis. Again, spend most of your time in the commentary section because that is obviously where you can earn the most points in the rubric. That's what we want to focus on specifically. If you have questions on this, please just reach out, shoot me an email, and we can work on it together. Alrighty, last for this week. If you have not submitted your one-pagers yet, please make sure you do so for your independent reading. Make sure you're staying up to date on current events. I know we didn't do any COVID-19 journals this week. I figured I would kind of lay off those since we are doing the full rhetorical analysis essay this week. But make sure you are reading up, you're staying up to date. Make sure you're reading a novel that you are enjoying if you haven't found a new one. And reach out for anything if you have any questions, I should say, or if you need anything at all. I'm just an email away. That is it for the week, you guys. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you guys enjoy the week and do things that you enjoy doing. I know that's repetitive, but I want to really stress that because it is a challenging time. I'm aware of that. And just want you guys to know that I'm here for you. So I hope I can see you guys soon. I miss you all tremendously. Um, it really does take a toll on me not being able to just go and see you guys every day. So I hope you know I'm thinking about you. You're in my thoughts. I hope you guys have a great, great week. Be the best you can be. Make your parental guardians proud. And as always, go forth and conquer.